The forest that watches. The townspeople of Briar Hollow knew better than to enter Blackroot Forest after sunset. Even during the day, the forest exuded a kind of pressure, an unseen force that weighed on your chest, made your skin crawl, and turned every bird call into something ominous. But it was at night when the forest truly came alive. At night, the trees watched you. It wasn't just superstition. People had gone in and never returned. Hikers, campers, even seasoned hunters, gone without a trace. The search parties came back with nothing but stories of whispering leaves and shadows that seemed to move on their own. After a while, they stopped searching. The forest had taken them, and that was that. But Ava didn't believe in fairy tales. She believed in facts, in data, in what could be measured and explained. As a doctoral student in folklore and psychology, she had a knack for dismantling local myths. Her dissertation focused on collective fear and how it influenced rural storytelling. Briar Hollow, with its tight-lipped locals and eerie forest lore, was perfect. She arrived in late October, renting a small cabin on the edge of town. When she asked about the forest, the woman who handed her the keys went pale and muttered, "Keep the windows shut after dark." Ava smiled politely and nodded. The first few days she interviewed the townspeople, recorded their stories. Many refused to talk. The ones who did kept glancing toward the trees, as if afraid the forest might overhear. They spoke of the eyes, glowing orbs that floated between the trees, always watching but never blinking. Others mentioned the watcher, a figure made of bark and rot, standing still but somehow moving closer each time you looked away. She catalogued every story, noting how similar they were despite being told by different people. It was textbook communal folklore, shared trauma wrapped in metaphor. It was the perfect time to test her theory. She walked for about 30 minutes, deeper than most dared go. When she found a small clearing, she set up the trail camera, aligning it to face a dense cluster of trees. She left it running and sat on a flat rock nearby, clicking on her recorder. This is Ava Morgan, October 31st, 9:14 p.m. I'm in Blackroot Forest, approximately 1 mile from the edge of Briar Hollow. Thus far, I've observed nothing unusual, though I am noting a distinct drop in ambient noise. She paused and glanced around. Nothing moved, but the air was thick, like breathing through a wet rag. Locals speak of the forest watching, of feeling observed. At the moment, I feel. Snap. The sound came from behind her. A branch, definitely snapped. She whipped around, flashlight cutting through the dark. Nothing. Could be an animal, she whispered into the recorder, but she was already doubting it. She scanned the trees. Still nothing. No eyes. No watcher. Just the trees, tall, looming, and twisted as if they had once been alive in a different way. She turned back to the camera. It had moved. Only a few inches, but it was tilted now, off angle. She had secured it tightly. Ava swallowed hard. Unexplained shift in camera position. Possible wind or soil shift. We'll investigate in the morning. But she was lying to herself. There was no wind. The ground was firm. Still, she wasn't about to give up that easily. Another hour passed. The darkness grew heavier, thicker. Her flashlight began to flicker. She tapped it, annoyed, but the flickering continued, rhythmic, almost like blinking. Her eyes adjusted. The shadows between the trees looked deeper than they should, and then she saw them. Two small, glowing points of light. Eyes. Ava froze, heart pounding in her ears. The eyes didn't move, they just stared. She clicked her flashlight off and crouched low. Her recorder was still running, catching every shallow breath, every whispered note. Visual anomaly detected, two bioluminescent or reflective surfaces resembling eyes approximately 20 feet away. No visible body. Then she blinked, and the eyes were closer. 10 feet. Still unmoving, still watching. She stood up slowly, backing away from the clearing. This is likely a trick of the light, an optical illusion brought on by. Snap. Another branch. Then another. The eyes blinked. And disappeared. Ava ran. Branches tore at her jacket. Roots grabbed at her feet. The forest was alive, responding to her fear. She could feel it pressing in, her panic feeding it somehow. She didn't stop until she burst through the trees onto the road near her cabin. She slammed the door behind her and locked it, breathing hard. She collapsed against the wall, eyes darting to the window. Nothing. For now. The next morning, Ava returned to the forest with a deputy from the town. The camera was still there, but the footage was gone. The SD card had been snapped in two, neatly placed back into the slot. The deputy refused to go farther, muttering prayers under his breath. But Ava wasn't done. She was obsessed. Over the next week, things escalated. She started hearing whispers outside her cabin at night, soft, rustling voices like leaves brushing skin. Her trail cameras all malfunctioned. The townspeople stopped answering her questions. Her sleep was plagued with dreams of the Watcher, its wooden face featureless but somehow expressive, always leaning closer. The forest was bleeding into her. And she couldn't stop herself from going back. On the seventh night, she entered the forest with nothing but a journal and her voice recorder. I believe the forest is sentient, not metaphorically, literally. She walked slowly, deliberately. I think it's feeding off belief, fear. The more we acknowledge it, the stronger it becomes. The stories aren't just stories, they're warnings. But I didn't listen. She reached the same clearing. The trees were different now, bent inward, forming a circle. In the center stood the Watcher. Its form was vaguely human, but wrong, too tall, limbs too long, made of bark and shadows and old earth. She stepped closer. Its eyes opened, dozens of them, all over its body, watching her, judging her. I came to debunk you, she whispered, but I see now, I was part of the story all along. The Watcher tilted its head. Then it raised one finger and pointed to her chest. Ava looked down. Roots were growing from her shoes, curling up her legs. She screamed and dropped the recorder. It kept running as she was pulled into the earth, her voice drowned by the rustling laughter of the trees. 2 weeks later, a local boy found her cabin abandoned. Inside were pages of notes, some scratched out and rewritten dozens of times. The final entry read, "The forest doesn't just watch, it remembers." And deep in the woods, in the clearing that no longer shows up on any map, a new tree stands. Tall, twisted, its bark patterned with eyes. And if you listen closely at night, you can still hear Ava whispering, "Don't blink, it's watching."